be a new kind of term to a lot of people, and really what it refers to is our daily routines and activities that affect our sleep quality and duration. So obtaining healthy sleep is really important, like you mentioned earlier, for our physical well-being, our mental health, all kinds of things, right? It includes our productivity, overall quality of life, and so everyone.
All right. So this is the How Do You Live Life Well podcast. I am JM, and I have a special guest with me, Shannon Sandifer. She is the new well-being manager. Shannon, can you tell us what you do at Cone Health?
Yeah, thanks, JM, for having me on the podcast today. So like JM mentioned, I am the new well-being manager for LiveLifeWell in our employee wellness program for Cone Health. So I manage a lot of our programs and different things that we offer as far as well-being resources for all of our employees and spouses in our organization on a medical plan.
Awesome. Welcome, Shannon. This is your first time on the podcast, so hopefully it's not the last. But this month we are focused on sleep, so better sleep habits for shift workers. And so that's what we're going to focus on. So as you guys know, sleep is extremely important, right? Obviously. So it allows your mind and your body to recharge, and it assists in maintaining the body's health, right? All right. And it also helps prevent diseases. So I have a few common questions people may have about sleep that I'm going to ask you, Shannon. All right. And we just need you to kind of elaborate a little bit on some of these answers. So the very first question I have for you, how much sleep do we actually need?
I feel like that's a question that a lot of people, just are curious about, because sleep is one of those things that it's very individualized, right? And, it's going to be different for everyone, but generally for adults, it's usually between 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night. And really knowing those general recommendations is kind of the first step. If you're, I'm assuming you're listening to this because you're looking for ways to get better sleep, right? And so kind of knowing how much you need is kind of the first step to that, knowing how to get that better sleep. So really between that 7 to 9 hours a night is generally what's recommended. But it's really important to consider like your individual need and kind of look at, other things like based on your activity level and your overall health. And so, for example, if you feel like you feel productive, healthy, and happy, and just feel good on 7 hours of sleep, maybe that's like your magic number. So you really kind of just have to assess, but really between that 7 to 9 hours is kind of like the hours I would shoot for.
Awesome. 7 to 9 hours. All right. So I've heard of the word sleep hygiene. Can you tell us what sleep hygiene is and how do we actually achieve it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sleep hygiene is, could be a new kind of term to a lot of people. And really what it refers to is our daily routines and activities that affect our sleep quality and duration. So obtaining healthy sleep is really important, like you mentioned earlier, for our physical well-being, our mental health, all kinds of things, right? It includes our productivity, overall quality of life. And so everyone, kids to older adults, right? Not just employees that we're, work with at Cone Health, can really benefit from better sleep. And so sleep hygiene is a really key part of achieving that goal. And so that's kind of what sleep hygiene refers to, those daily routines and activities that we do to help with better sleep quality.
Awesome. So many of us that are listening to this podcast may be like shift workers, night shift workers. The healthcare system has many people that work night shift, factories, call centers. There's all types of industries that work night shift. So if we work a night shift, how do we set up ourselves for better sleep habits?
Yeah, that's a great question. So going back to kind of sleep hygiene, there's some general kind of things that you can do as far as what's a healthy kind of way to achieve good sleep hygiene. And I'm kind of going to list those out and then talk more specifically on how that could relate to shift workers. So one of the things that's really good that can help with healthy sleep hygiene is setting up a restful kind of bedroom environment, right? Kind of comfortable temperature. You don't want to be too cold or too hot. So kind of finding what you feel like is just right for you. Um,
Right.
Sometimes your mattress can play a big role in your sleep, right? If you have a
Yeah.
super uncomfortable mattress, you may not get a good night's rest. Maybe considering like the type of sheets that you have, your bedding is a really big one to consider, making sure that's comfortable. Even your pillows. So if you've had your pillows for quite a while, maybe this is a good time to kind of like think about, okay, maybe it's time to replace those because that could be really indicating, a good night's rest or not. So that's a big one I think of. Another one is like just how you kind of plan caffeine and meals. So trying to avoid really large meals or caffeine or even alcohol too close to bedtime or when you're sleeping is something to kind of keep in mind. And then really trying to find a relaxing kind of bedtime routine. Routines are really good for building healthy habits. And so kind of coming up with what you feel like is relaxing to you is a good way to kind of help with being able to fall asleep, having that good quality of sleep. And then electronics, right? That is a big one.
Uh-oh.
We are all attached to our phones, right? Mine's right here. Like it's something that we're all surrounded by. And so really trying to be mindful about limiting electronics before you go to sleep. Now I know in some instances it's not possible, right? So if you're a shift
Right.
worker and you're working all night or during whatever shift you're working, sometimes you're not able to kind of limit that before you go to bed. So that's when creating that relaxing routine can be really helpful. But I came across a statistic that I wanted to share. The American or Sleep in America poll is something they do. The Sleep Foundation does, found that 4 in 10 Americans bring their phone to bed. And I'm guilty of that. I'm sure all of us are,
Right.
right? So it really might be tempting to use our phone or our computer or TV right before we go to sleep because those devices can really interfere with our sleep quality of sleep. So those are just some sleep hygiene tips, right? So when it comes to like night shift or shift workers, what can we do to establish like better sleep habits? So again, going back to that really relaxing bedroom environment, that's going to be key because if you're having to sleep like during the typical day hours, you want to make sure your environment's dark. So whether that's getting some blackout curtains or those like eye masks, those can be really good for that. Trying to eliminate or minimize any like outside sounds that could potentially wake you up. So maybe trying to white noise machine, maybe having a fan on, or even using earplugs. Some people can do that. And those are kind of ways to kind of drown out any sounds. And I think another thing that to consider is if it's possible, I know it's not always, but just letting your family members know, your roommates or people that may be in the space while you're trying to sleep that, these are your hours, this is your time that you're really trying to get that rest. So that way you can be, healthy and feel productive and be able to, continue on your daily things that you do. Um, feel good. And another one that I think too is really important that's really can be challenging is trying to establish a routine where you're waking up and going to bed at the same time each day, even on your days off. And so I know that can really kind of go into maybe missing out on some social activities. It can be tricky, or maybe some times to run errands. But that's just another one to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, awesome. So some of us, like I said, are shift workers, right? And so can you help us to understand or to identify some tips for staying awake during our shift?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things is just kind of being like monitoring how alert you are at work. So if you're finding that you're working a shift overnight and it's just really a struggle to stay awake, one of the things is like caffeine can help with alertness, but making sure that it's not too much, like, right? Keeping it in moderation and consuming it carefully and just being mindful about avoiding consuming, within 3 to 4 hours of when you plan to go to sleep. So, maybe at the beginning of your shift, but try to avoid it like close to your shift when you would maybe be going to, sleep after you finish your shift. Um, and Another thing could be is if you do get a break or if you do get some time to kind of step away, consider like maybe taking a short, quick walk outside. We do have gyms in each of our hospitals, so those are open to all employees. Um, and they're open 24/7. So that could be another way is maybe popping in there to help boost your alertness and energy levels, maybe walking on the treadmill and doing some sort of activity can be another way to kind of help you stay awake or increase your alertness. So that way you're, you know, limiting any sort of errors or accidents that could possibly be, on the job if you're feeling tired.
Awesome, awesome. So those are really the common questions that I kind of hear and the questions that I have for you. So what we're going to go into now is my favorite part of the show. It's called Blitz Questions. All right. And so we do this with every guest where we're asking 3 questions. So the very first question, all right, what is your favorite food, Shannon?
Ooh, that's I am definitely a foodie, so I love all foods. But if I were to choose one, I would definitely say Greek food. I really love like, Greek salads or like gyros or gyros, however people want to pronounce it. But I would absolutely say that's probably one of the top of my list.
Awesome, awesome. Is there a place that you like to go and get your Greek food? Like your favorite restaurant?
I like Mythos here in Greensboro. They're really
Okay,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so right along with that, what is your favorite drink?
Well, I do love my morning cup of coffee, so that's something I look forward to each day.
Coffee.
Um, but I mean, I feel like water, obviously water has so many benefits, so that's
You know
probably
what?
the most.
I feel like everyone that gets on the show, they're like, water is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you have to say that?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Shannon, the last question so that we'll get to know you a little bit better. What's one thing most people do not know about you?
So one thing I think JM knows this about me, but I am a big tennis fan. I love playing tennis. It's one hobby that I've recently taken up. And one of the things I have on my bucket list is to attend a Grand Slam. So I really want to be able to experience that one day, and it would be even cooler. It would be a bonus if I could see Serena Williams play. She's definitely my favorite
Yeah, that would be awesome.
player. Yeah. So.
And you guys may not know, but Shannon is a pro tennis player.
Yeah, I'm getting
Just want you
there.
guys to know that. All right, cool. All right, so this is the end of this episode. We ask that you please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and stay tuned for the next episode on the How Do You Live Life Well podcast. Thank you so much, Shannon.